I think it's oddly fitting that I'm coming here to do this episode of Paint and Talk on the 31st day of me painting every day. I think it's like strangely fitting because usually I try to keep anything that's happening like right in front of me out of the Paint and Talks. I try and keep the Paint and Talks to either things that happened a little while ago or things that are going to happen, but I don't like to do the old, oh, this is what happened to me today as a full episode, with a couple exceptions that I think are up on the channel. Today, though, I'm going to, because I kind of want to document this for myself, mainly, but maybe someone else will get something out of this too, Worst case, maybe I'll take it down someday if I'm too embarrassed because I felt I overshared, but for now, this is what's going to happen. I'm pivoting today in a pretty large regard. Maybe not the largest, but in a regard that I haven't before, at the very least. So I guess it's something, I'm wanting to make a lot of changes now when it comes to my content, how I'm going about things. Partially the Paint and Talk series is a big part of it, but I guess it all starts really about a week ago when I started having just some real doubts about what I was doing. That's unusual for me. I know some people are the kind of person where they are always being doubtful of what they're doing and they're constantly critiquing their own work. And I wish I was one of those people because I followed so many bad ideas because I'm not, But I started having a lot of doubts, which is unusual for me, of am I good enough to do this? I think that happens a lot when you're doing something that takes a lot of effort and you're not seeing returns on it right away. Partially I was just ignore it, which I think is a very normal response of I just got to keep working. Let me just ignore this. I'll think about it later. But I remember I was journaling about it the other day and I was I feel like something is coming, if you're someone who does art or thinks about ideas a lot and is creative in any way, or I guess it just happens with life too. There are obviously those periods where nothing happens for a long time and you stay stagnant, and then it's you go up, you plateau, you go up, you plateau. I think that's a very common experience, and I was I feel one of those times of change is coming, And listen, it's a little premature to say I'm gonna change or I'm changing, but I think it is, based on how my day went today. I was feeling a little bit lost in my content and in how I was doing things. Partially, I think too, it was because I was overworking myself just a little bit. Obviously, I decide my own workload, so I can't really blame anyone but myself. But I was definitely giving myself a lot to do that I didn't need to do. And I was also doing it in such an inefficient way that I think that was getting to me more than anything. My goal this year is to upload a video a week and a Paint and Talk daily. So far, I'm doing pretty well on the Paint and Talk side of things. The video a week, on the other hand, I've missed 2 weeks in a row now. Hopefully I can get back on track with that next week. But I was really struggling to work on this next video that's coming out, and I really couldn't put my finger on why. And I think now looking at it, I think the reason I was struggling so much to put my finger on why is because I knew that there was something kind of wrong with the way I was going about things, in terms of how I was creating. I knew I needed to pivot in some regard, so every time I was working on it, I couldn't help but just feel so empty about it, because I was putting all this work in to this thing, and it was it just felt so... It wasn't something I wanted to be making, and it wasn't something I should have been making. I was investing so much time into this thing I didn't really want to be investing my time into, and along with that, I was, grinding out these Paint and Talks, which I'm going to continue to do. I think in this whole pivot that I'm talking about here, the Paint and Talks are going to be affected the least, probably. But, you know, I was like just kind of losing sight of things. You know, does that happen to anyone else? Is that just a me thing? When you work on something for too long and you sort of start just losing sight of why you're working on it, or, you know, the fulfillment aspect of it, or what it's supposed to be. And that happened to me today, and it was actually sparked by a comment. And I made note of his name before this. It slips my mind now. I'll comment it down below. This comment was basically this guy in a very nice way saying, you know, you gotta start responding to comments. He kind of said, like, there's a huge potential for a community to grow out of this channel, but you're treating this like, it was honestly like kind of profound, his comment. He was like, you're treating this like a garden that's just supposed to be self-sustaining. And he was like, you should be engaging in these conversations down in the comment section. Like, you need to encourage people to be commenting. And, you know, he said it in such a nice way. Like, it wasn't really, I've gotten harsh comments, and that wasn't something I'd consider a harsh comment, but I took it harshly. You know, I was like, for about an hour this morning when I read the comment, I had a reaction to it where I was like, that's like, you know, I didn't like it. I was really mad about it, kind of, you know? And I didn't know why, because I was like, this is a nice comment. And, you know, I'm someone who, even the mean comments, like, I've been on YouTube for a long time and I don't really get affected by the comments like that. I never have. And I was like, why is this one affecting me? And then it was kind of like, because it's right, you know? Like, it felt right in terms, like, that's what I've been trying to put my finger on the last, you know, 2 or 3 weeks when I've been feeling this, is like, I've put all this effort into doing this thing and I think it's awesome. I'm going to keep doing it. But I've lost sight of why, like I'm trying to grind out all this content and I've lost sight of why I'm actually grinding it out, you know? Which is to build a community, to interact with people, to engage with people. And at first I was like, you know, kind of just like figuring, you know, when you get told something that you know it's right, but your first reaction is just to figure out ways that it's wrong because you don't want to admit that it's right. You know, maybe it's a truth that you haven't wanted to deal with because, you know, if you do deal with it, it's going to be a lot more work than if you just let things go as they've been going. That's what this felt like. So I was looking for ways to do this wrong, and I was like, no, he's right. Like, this is what I've been missing. I need to do this. Like, I felt like I lost something along the way, you know? And it was also this morning I was finishing up this last video I was making for the main channel. And I was like, wow. Like, it almost made me sit back and realize, like, I've been creating with my ego a little too much this whole time, you know? God, it sounds like I did acid for the first time right now. But I don't know if anyone has heard these quotes or anything like that, but I've always heard the quote that, like, the ego is the enemy of great art, right? And I still disagree with that quote to an extent. I mean, you know, to say that no artist has ever made great art with ego in mind is definitely probably false, you know, but I think I learned that today that, like, ego can be an enemy of great art. So I started looking at, like, my channel and what I'd been doing with things. And, like, I was looking at the videos I was making and how I was making them, and I was like, there's no real through line between all these videos. And one problem that I've always had on my channel that I've never wanted to resolve, I kind of did it by design at first, was the fact that, like, my videos, there's no through line between them. This is on the Max Ice channel. I don't know if anyone's over here who's not on that channel. There's a whole lot of videos that, like, will be switching between topics and niches, and there's no real through line between all the stuff I make. And, like I always knew this was an issue. I'd been told it by multiple people, and everything I kept saying was like, no, eventually I'm gonna make stuff that's, like, so good that people are just gonna keep coming back no matter what the topic is. And that was me creating with my ego, like, fully and totally creating with my ego. Of not realizing that, like, I am, you know, I think last year I had more honest reasons for not wanting to come up with a straight niche that I would create in, right? Because I didn't want to just I didn't want to box myself in. I wanted to be able to talk about whatever I was interested in, because, I don't want to be stuck making videos on the same thing over and over again. And I completely still stand by that, but now I have this, where I can talk about whatever. Right now I'm telling a personal story about me pivoting in art and stuff, that I think is a decision that's come out of these last 31 days of painting. This is something that some people might not like, but it's the outlet that I wanted to talk about anything. I got that. I made that for myself. And I'm fortunate enough that there's a lot of people over here who I've been rudely not engaging with that are seeming to enjoy this. That's such a blessing that, I'm taking for granted that there are 30 or so people who, on average, will check these out over the course of 3 or 4 days, and a couple of them will engage with the ideas. And I feel like a real asshole for not engaging as much as I should have been. So that's why it caused me to look at my channel and be like, man, I'm just creating whatever I want to make, not even keeping in mind of why did they sub to me? What do they want to hear? Not that I think you shouldn't be controlled by your audience, because at the end of the day, you're still the one making the things, but your audience is there for a reason, you know what I mean? You wouldn't pull out an electric guitar at the opera, so why, that doesn't make it any less of art that you are there serving something to the audience, Dancing in a box is still dancing. And that's where I was like, man, I really need to define this. And there's another element to this too. That is, it comes with the shorts that I've been putting out, right? So I've been putting out shorts on this channel and on my main channel. I'm going to continue with them in capacity, but I've been putting out a lot. On this channel, I put out 7 or 8, and I started adding Minecraft footage in. And, to an extent, I need to do that to play the algorithm a little bit. Some of this stuff is not 100% my fault, but a lot of it is. I'm not going to try and avoid any responsibility of, I made all these decisions, right? But I started putting in Minecraft footage every day, and, just kind of churning them out with the program I use to make them. And again, I completely understand I gotta play the game, in a sense, when I'm doing all this YouTube stuff. So that's why I can't sit here and be, I would love to be here and be I'm never making another short again. I don't like vertical content. I don't like it at all. I think I've spoken about this before. I hate making it, I hate watching it, So the reality is I'm here as a creator in the year 2025. I gotta do it a little bit, right? But doing it doesn't mean I need to completely sacrifice the content that I make, The big rule of thumb I've always wanted to keep in mind on the Max Dice channel, my other channel, again, if you're not coming from over there, is quality comes first. I want to eventually garner the trust of the viewership based on them knowing, if I click on one of this guy's videos, these will be quality videos, you know what I mean? And at a point, I feel like I had that last year. I really did. I think, by the end of last year, listen, was it everyone in the world being this guy makes the best videos? No. But I could tell that I had a level of trust with my own audience of these people know that I can make some cool stuff. And I feel that way still. I do think I can make a cool video. And I feel by I started churning out these shorts on the main channel. And actually, you can see over time me putting out more and more each day, because I was getting scared as I failed to upload to the channel week after week because I was having this crisis. I was I was putting out more and more each day because I was just so scared of the channel going dark or going dormant. And I think what I did probably, I haven't put out a video since, so I can't say for sure, is I probably drove away a lot of the audience that was used to that level of quality. That was this is good. This guy makes good stuff. I feel like a lot of those people might not believe that anymore because they're he just churned out levels so much slop daily that this is not, how can I call this guy quality anymore, And the calculation I always made, the calculation that I still agree with in large part, is like, okay, it's content, I gotta put a little bit of slop with the good stuff to get this scene. And that's true, but at what point does a little bit of slop become a lot of slop? And what I was doing with these shorts has definitely become a lot of slop, right? And that's not what I want to be, you know? Throwing up one short a day that I hand select from this series to put on the main channel and go, I think these people might be genuinely interested in this. That's very different than putting out 5 a day because I'm personally insecure that something is going to go wrong in one way or another, you know? And I think me realizing this is good, but it's just a painful realization because, you know, a lot of the times in the past when I've had to pivot in any endeavor, whether that be artistic, personal, you know, whatever it may be, oftentimes, like, it's because of an outside force, or just like, I worked really hard on this and it's not the greatest, that's fine. This time it's tougher because it's like, this is my own ego at play here. You know what I mean? Like, I have to come and face the fact that, like, I myself put too much stake in my own ideas. I thought I was better than I was at this whole thing, and now I'm in a situation where I'm almost undoing my old work. And maybe some of you are watching this that are familiar with all the stuff I've done, and are like, no, he's looking at this too dramatically. But even if I am, I want to look at this dramatically because I need a dramatic change right now. You know what I mean? I need to look at this in a radically different light. Which is why the other thing that is big here, part of the whole ego discussion, is I'm a planner. I'm a huge planner. I've talked about this like ad nauseum on my channel that I love planning things. I always will. I think it's so cool to come up with a large strategy and be like, I'm going to execute on this, right? And overall, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing that I'm a planner. I wouldn't want it any other way. I really wouldn't. I think I'd rather be really good at planning than be like doing things willy-nilly, you know? But there is a downside that comes with that planning, and that downside is that I get married to those plans. And this happens sometimes. Sometimes it's great because the plan works, and then you're gonna work on the plan 10 times as hard because you're married to the plan. That's awesome. But other times like this, I had all the videos for 2025 planned, and I looked at them, and I was like, what am I doing here? I'm just making more videos that I want to just insert thoughts that I think are good into. And it's like, I don't want to answer, like, I think my videos work best when they help the viewer in one way or another. Those are the videos I think have done best. Whether I have something interesting to say or not, I think my videos do best when I answer a question that a lot of people have. And what I was doing with these videos I wrote down as I looked at them is I was like, I'm answering questions that I think I have good answers to, rather than answering questions that need to be asked, you know? Like, I need to be okay with putting out a bad answer to a really great question, because that will help people more think about their own answer to that great question, and maybe someone else will have something. Then I should come up with good answers to bad questions, you know what I mean? And like, I was really just like, wow, like, I can even find my own ego in this like strange list of video ideas that would seem so abstract. Like, I can even see how I'm doing that in here, you know? And I've always been, listen, what I call myself like super egotistical, not exactly. I mean, like, you know, I'm a little bit of a cocky guy. I think, like, obviously I sit in front of a camera and talk every day. You gotta have a little bit of that in you to do that and think like, oh no, I can turn on this camera and say something worth watching, you know? So like, to an extent, of course, but I wouldn't say I'm someone who I'd consider to be like, is this term like megalomaniac, like egomaniac? I wouldn't consider myself that by any means. But I felt like looking at the last couple Paint&Talks, looking at the last couple of videos I made, looking at the shorts that I was putting out that were bad, and I knew they were bad, but I thought it'd be better to just get things out. I was like, I am fully seeing my ego creep through in my own content, you know? And I was seeing it in reactions to smaller things too, of like, I don't know, I can't really think of an example, but like someone would say something is bad, you know? Maybe someone in my personal life, they'd be like, I didn't like that. And I would like be like madder than I would be before. Not in any sort of crazy way, just in like a, you know, like I noticed I was getting a little madder and I was like, what is this? What's going on here? And the truth is that I was noticing, even like subconsciously almost, I saw that my own ego was in a lot of this stuff more than it was before. And I think that I was also subconsciously protecting myself and my sense of self by being like, no, it's good. People just don't see that, you know? Listen, in some cases in my life, I think I have had that where I did have something good that people didn't see was good. 100%. And, you know, I'm very lucky when that does happen, and I hope it'll happen again, because I feel like when you have something that you believe is good and it ends up being good and no one else saw it, that's when you have something cool. You know, that's when you have something really cool. But, you know, I had to sit back and be like, I don't have something good that no one else sees as good. I just have something bad that I want to make good because it's more convenient if this happens to be good, you know? So I think it's important also to go over as I wrap up this story here. One, the pivot part of this, right? I'm going to title this probably something in relation to pivoting. And I think that is kind of the lesson here in one way or another, right? Is like pivoting in any artistic journey, right? In this journey, it's more of a pivot of like how I'm going to carry myself, how I'm going about things, making sure I respond to comments, putting the community first. It's more of a philosophical pivot, I guess, right now, right? And a strategic one at that too. But there is also, this is an artistic journey still, or at least I see it as that. And I think one of the reasons something like this is so hard, for me especially in this scenario, like I said, my ego is very involved, where it shouldn't have been. But I also, it was because, you know, you go so far down a path that you feel like you should just keep hiking that trail. And sometimes it's like, you gotta go, like, what's the point of hiking a trail because you're 3 days into that trail when you're gonna end up at the wrong destination? And that's kind of the calculation or the decision I had to make. I feel like calculation's so, like, pretentious to say it that way. Like, that's the decision you gotta make, right? It's a hard decision to make, to be like, I've spent, in my case now, over a year and a half going down this trail. And for about a month now, I felt that that trail is gonna get me to the wrong spot. But I kept going because I was committed to that trail. And that's an important thing to do in artistic journeys, is to know, okay, is this the trail I'm gonna keep going down? Or do I pivot this next fork to make sure I'm getting onto that right trail next to here? And listen, is this next trail I go on the right one? Who's to say? I'm not the guy to say. I mean, I was wrong this time, and I'm more than open to being wrong next time. I think every time I'm wrong, I get closer to being right, so I'll take it, you know what I mean? But I do think that having like I feel like it takes, not like strength, I don't think strength is the word, but it takes a degree of faith in yourself to be like, I'm hopping off this trail I've been on for a year because I don't think it's the right place. And so some of this paint's a little dry, but I want to get the paint underneath it because there's still some under it. And I didn't put any more paint on this canvas before I started this. So we're gonna have to work with this now. But you know, being able to, it takes something. I don't know what it is. Maybe you guys have the answer, but it takes something to be like, okay, this wasn't the right zone to be in. I gotta start doing more of this. I gotta start doing less of this to get to the right spot, even though you so harshly committed to that other thing, you know? And I think that's the lesson here, is like pivot, and learn to pivot whenever you can. And pivots can be small, which I've done a million small pivots in each episode of this, right? And those pivots have been easy to make. Something like, okay, I gotta position the canvas a little bit more that way. I gotta position this a little bit more that way. I gotta make sure that I get to, a big one for me was like, I gotta make sure I get brush to canvas within the first couple seconds of the video, or I don't think it'll be as fun to watch if you don't know that I'm painting right away. Like, these are easy pivots to make because they're more of lessons than pivots. But a real pivot takes admitting that you're like very wrong about something And that's why they're always so hard for me to make, is because I think a lot of people, I would hope, love being right. Like, I like being right. I think we all do. Or if you don't, let me know how that works. I would love to be you. But, you know, we like being right. So it's hard to admit, like, okay, this was wrong. I got to go a different way about this. Even if admitting that will get you to actually being right. And I think the other one is just like, and this is the harder one, especially because I have a lot of friends in my life who view all my stuff, but I don't think I have anyone in my life who would be capable of going like, your ego is getting into the art you're creating, just because, like, listen, I don't have anyone who has the time of day to be psychoanalyzing the stuff I post on YouTube. You know what I mean? I would go as far as saying, I kind of doubt anyone in the audience does either. I mean, maybe some of you have seen all this, and if you've noticed this, I mean, that'd be something. Let me know. I would love to hear that. But I would think like a lot of people are fairly passively putting out what I do. So it takes only you to realize when you put your ego into something. And that's a hard thing to do, because that's the famous part about ego, right? Is it stops you from noticing when it's there. I think, I can't believe I'm about to quote Joe Rogan, but he has this one quote where he's like, the ego is a great slave, but a horrible master. And I think that's true. Your ego can be of service of like being confident and being super like into what you create. But like when it becomes your master, I feel like that's what kind of happened to me, you know? So what are the lessons? I want to put that out here at the end. Those were the lessons. What's the action now though? Because I feel like for me to say all this, I'd be like, oh, I've made this grand discovery without actually doing anything would be kind of in service of my ego once again. So as we finish up here, I want to go over that, right? The lucky part for me is that they're small. I mean, the things that I've gotten, the things that are good are the hardest part of this, right? Like, I'm capable of recording for the 30 minutes a day that it takes. I'm capable of editing it and getting it out, and I have something to chop up some shorts and, you know, do that, right? I think those parts of it are good. So like, that's the hard part, you know? It'd be much harder if I had to learn through all this how I'm going to go about making things. I don't have to worry about making things. I have to worry about more so how I'm making them, right? Part of it is a direct personal productivity thing. I need to get better at the productivity part of things, making sure I can get everything done on time, because that was starting to trip me up a little bit. That's my own thing, just on my own daily to-do list. The other part of it is I need to put the community first when I'm making these, right? I need to ask you guys what you want to see. I would love to hear any recommendations, what you want to hear. And I need to start responding to all the comments I get on every Paint and Talk. It should have started yesterday on Paint and Talk 30. So if I didn't respond to your comment, call the cops, I guess. No, but you know, I should have done that. I do also keep web blocks on my computer. I just, for the sake of clarity, since that's what we're doing here today, I do keep web blocks on my computer. So I'll probably be most active around like between 6 and 8 a.m. my time, New York time, Eastern Standard Time. So if your comment doesn't get responded to right away, I'm gonna make sure I do it the next morning. I want to make a point to set time aside to respond to these comments, because the community needs to be first in this series. It's supposed to be a personal, unfiltered thing, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to make it that, right? The other parts of this come to my main channel, right? I need to find a niche. I think I already have a loosely defined, like my videos are definitely in the same color palette, but I need to find that color. You know what I mean? I don't know what that looks like yet. I'm going to find that out over the next week. I'm going to probably put up some polls over on that channel being like, what do you guys like from here? What do you want to see, right? I also need to come up with a good thumbnail style. I need to come up with video topics that are actually useful to people and that people will be interested in. The problem with like growth is like, you know, when you're not serving anyone, you're just making whatever's interesting, even if they're kind of in the same realm, it's like you're shooting in the dark, right? Rather than focusing on one target to keep hitting, where people will be like, oh, I'm interested in this, so I'm gonna be interested in this and this and this. That's the important part of this, right? So that's what I need to get done, and that's what's gonna start happening. Once I find this niche, I'm gonna restructure the entire coming months. I think I've learned that it's kind of over planning to plan the whole year. Maybe 3 to 6 months would be solid, because you know, like planning the whole year, what if I need to pivot midway through again? You know, I want to plan maybe 3 months out from now, and then each month have another month planned so I can stay 3 months ahead of wherever I'm at. So that's the big thing there. Thumbnail style, video topic, responding to comments on both channels. As for the shorts, I don't like what I've been doing with them. I've been spamming everyone way too much with them, and some of them aren't good. People on the main channel don't like the Minecraft footage. I gotta play the game with the algorithm a little bit, but at the end of the day, they're the people who subscribe to me, so I need to service them, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna take away the Minecraft footage on the main channel and only upload one short a day, just enough to keep the channel alive, post something I think people genuinely might be interested in that would get them to come over here and see these videos that I also love making. After that, on this channel, I'll probably, unfortunately, since it's smaller, be keeping the Minecraft footage because I gotta play the algorithms game a little bit. But I'm gonna lessen it down from like the 12 or 15 that I post a day to like 3 or 4 to 5, like between 3 and 5 a day. If there's 5 really good ones, I'll post those 5. But I need to make sure the quality is where I want it at. And on Instagram, I only post 3 a day anyway, so things are gonna stay the same on the Instagram if you're over there. But that's the story, that's what's happening from here. I think, I want to thank you guys for being here for the last 31 days because it took doing this for 31 days to learn this lesson that if I was working less, if I was working slower, might have taken me 3 or 4 months to learn. So I think ultimately this is a good thing. Also, I know this is kind of a personal, I think there's some universal lessons if you're like an artist watching this that are good in here, but this is more of a personal story. So I do want to say thank you for watching if you've watched all the way through here. This is kind of a different episode of Paint and Talk, but I think that this whole series is about this artistic journey. It'd be wrong and bad not to share that journey in its full honesty, even when it's something like this. It's like a little uglier to admit, you know what I mean? So anyways, now that we're doing this at the end, guys, gals, and pals, oh my god, I completely forgot. Check the Instagram to see the painting with an explanation of said painting. As always. Anyways, to wrap this up for the first time, we're doing this at the end. Guys, gals, and pals, this has been Paint and Talk episode 31. I'm here every day, painting and talking with you all.